I would like to call this meeting of the Prince William County School Board to order. Due to the state of emergency called by Governor Northam in response to the Hurricane Ida-related storms anticipated this evening, this meeting is being partially conducted through electronic means as authorized by Virginia Code 2.23708.2A3. Board members, presenters, and those members of the public who were signed up to speak during the 30-minute citizen comment period who cannot be present due to storms will participate electronically. A motion is in order for the approval of the closed session agenda. Ms. Zargarpur.
I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the closed session agenda as recommended.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Williams.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes. Yeah, sorry. Let me join the meeting here. Yes. Okay, moving on to the motion to enter closed session. A motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I move that pursuant to the Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711 and 2.2-3712, the Prince William County School Board enter closed session for the following reasons. 1, to discuss and consult with legal counsel regarding requests for religious exemptions pertaining to specific students under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 2, and 8. 2, to receive information from the Ombudsman relating to the performance of specific employees under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 1. 3, to discuss with Division Counsel and staff actual or probable litigation in specific legal matters involving specific staff and students under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 7, and 8. And 4, to consult with legal counsel and staff regarding the acquisition of real property for school sites where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the school board under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 3, and 8.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Williams.
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes. The Prince William County School Board will now enter closed session and return to open session in approximately 1 hour. The Prince William County School Board is now returning to open session from closed session. Moving on to the closed session certification, a motion is in order. Ms. Zargarpur.
Mr. Chairman, I move that pursuant to the Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712, the closed session of the Prince William County School Board meeting of September 1st, 2021 be certified by adopting the following resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Prince William County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard and discussed or considered by the school board.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Williams.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Mr. Stevens, folks, can I see the members on the screen at home? Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
I think she's on. They said she's on. Yeah. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thumbs up, yes? I can't hear you.
My mic is on. Okay, thank you.
Jason, she's having some issues with her sound. It looks like she's unmuted. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston, thumbs up, vote yes?
Yes.
Oh, good. We can hear Ms. Ralston. I still don't hear Ms. Jessie. What's the count?
So the vote is 7 yes, 1 not present at vote. Williams, motion passed.
Okay. Moving on to closed session action items, a motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Zargarpur.
I move that the Prince William County School Board exempt the students in cases RE 21-1 through RE 21-9 from compulsory school attendance under Section 22.1-254B1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, with the provision that the school board retains its right to again review the request at a time when the children are of sufficient age to consider their beliefs separate from and in conjunction with the beliefs of their parents.
Do I have a second? Second.
I second.
Ms. Jessie seconds the motion. Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous, motion passed.
Moving on to 9.02, motions in order.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Prince William County School Board authorize legal counsel and staff to initiate quick-take condemnation proceedings for the acquisition of 0.1486 acres owned by Nirame, Virginia LLC, located at 13970 Jefferson Davis Highway. 2, 2.794 acres owned by Marumsco Neighborhoods LLC, located at 13956 Jefferson Davis Highway. 3, 1.84 acres owned by Marumsco Neighborhoods LLC, located at the 13960 Jefferson Davis Highway. And 4, 0.215 acres owned by Marumsco Neighborhoods LLC, located at 13950 Jefferson Davis Highway, for the, quote, Woodbridge area elementary school, including providing the required 30 to 45 days notice to the owners of the school board's intent to file a certificate of take, filing said certificate of take, and filing a notice and petition in condemnation within the time required by law.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Williams?
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes. Ms. Williams, can you vote?
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous, motion passed.
Next, we'll be moving on to 9.03, acquisition of properties necessary for 14th High School. Chairman, just note, Ms. Simpson, that I will be abstaining from this vote due to conflict. Motion's in order.
Mr.
Ms.
Chairman.
Zargarpur.
I move that the Prince William County School Board authorize legal counsel and staff to initiate quick-take condemnation proceedings for acquisition of 32.8306 acres owned by the Billy Yolanda Twyford, substitute trustee of the Gordon Armstrong Revocable Living Trust, Mamie E. Armstrong Revocable Living Trust, located at 12847 Minnieville Road. 2, 0.5416 acres owned by Gordon M. Twyford and Billy Yolanda Twyford, located at 12901 Minnieville Road. And 3, 8.3016 acres owned by Gordon M. Twyford and Billy Yolanda Twyford, located at 13011 Telegraph Road. And 4, 0.4382 acres owned by Danico Incorporated at 12920 Summit School Road for the 14th High School, including providing the required 30 to 45 days notice to the owners of the school board's intent to file a certificate of take, filing said certificate of take, and filing a notice and petition in condemnation within the time required by law.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Jessie seconds the motion. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
And the vote is 7 yes, 1 abstain. Chairman Lateef, motion passed.
Okay, wonderful. We are now moving on to, I would like to call the meeting, the official meeting, call the meeting of the Prince William County School Board to order. We have the Pledge of Allegiance first, and if you all stand, and the flag is over here over my right shoulder. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Outstanding. Let's move on to the approval of the public meeting agenda. A motion's in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the public meeting agenda as recommended.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Williams.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous, motion passed.
Moving on to the adoption of the consent agenda, a motion's in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the public meeting consent agenda as recommended.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Williams?
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
yes,
Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
yes,
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous, motion passed.
Excellent. So before we move on to the next part of the meeting, I'll just take chairman's privilege here to welcome everyone to the first school board meeting of the new academic 21-22 school year. This meeting is historical for a number of reasons. It is the first meeting in 16 years without Superintendent Dr. Stephen Waltz, who retired this summer after a wonderful 16 years of service, improvement, and growth, the likes of which have never been seen before. We are grateful for his service and time spent leading our tremendous school system. It is historic because we are ushering in our new superintendent, Dr. Latanya D. McDade. Dr. McDade comes to us from Chicago Public Schools, where she was the chief academic officer for the entire division. She was responsible for over 600 schools and has a strong national reputation for educational leadership. We are pleased to have her lead our schools, as she has the full support of our board, staff, and students. She has not wasted a single moment in getting to know our schools and our community. We look forward to working towards a shared vision of success for all of our students. This meeting is historical because schools are starting while our world continues to fight a pandemic. We are facing challenges of educational losses, isolation, and safety that have kept our teachers, staff, and administration working around the clock with both anxiety and excitement. 50 years ago, this country faced social unrest, civil rights movement, women's rights movement, the ending of an unpopular war, continued demographic changes, energy crisis, all with the constant threat of a nuclear holocaust. Today, similarly, we are faced with a pandemic, ending a war, social and civil unrest, economic challenges, climate change, and a world struggling to fully grasp new technology and interconnectivity. The generations brought up in the 60s and 70s have arguably been the leaders in incredible medical advances and incredible technological advances, such as our vaccine and the internet. The internet was created by folks from these generations. Not only were they able to connect country to country, but person to person at any moment in time. Our children sitting in our classrooms today will be responsible for solving this world's problems as we move into the next 50 years by becoming the leaders, inventors, and innovators of the next generation. So I ask all of our students to join the superintendent, their teachers and staff as we begin a school year that will involve recovery, acceleration, and re-engagement. It is critical that our students work very hard to participate in this effort. It is important that our parents and families work with their students to help them as we move through this process. We are going to do our very best to help with this, and we believe we will be able to succeed. We will embark on this year knowing that there will be bumps in the road and struggles. There will be quarantining, there will be inconveniences, and there will be disappointments. But this year will be better than last year, and we will do this all together. So best wishes to all of our students and families on a wonderful academic 21-22 school year. Thank you very much. Next, we'll be moving on to the citizen comment time. These citizens who signed up in advance with the clerk may address the school board this evening when they're called to the podium. We are operating under a state of emergency. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak. Tonight, we have 16 speakers who signed up to speak in person and 9 who will participate virtually. Please use proper decorum and manners while at the podium or speaking virtually. If you do not do so, you'll be asked to step aside. Please state your name and address for the record. And we will start. Let me go ahead and I'll call.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jessie. I have a point of order. Was it 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
2 minutes during the state of emergency, Ms. Jessie.
Thank you.
We notified everyone today that it will be 2 minutes. So I will ask that we have notified everyone. This is a state of emergency meeting. The meeting will be 2 minutes. hold on. Listen, I don't need, I,
I just received 2 phone calls. Let us speak. Told us 3 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes. It was 3 minutes, what we were told.
There's nothing in the email about
And I have my emails as well.
no one was notified.
I spoke with Brandon, or whatever her name is.
Okay.
yesterday, And today, it was 3 minutes. I second that motion. Brandy.
so we'll go, okay, so what we'll do is we'll do 3 minutes then, if you haven't been notified. And we'll start with Jesse Graham. Jesse Graham. Is that the in-person? Yeah. Okay, next, Palmer Denny. Next, Leah Bravo.
My name is Palmer Denny, and my address is on file. How many of you are against CRT?
Let me tell you something, there's proper decorum in this room. And at this point, so we, proper decorum in this room will allow him to speak. We will not have cheering and screaming. We will have proper decorum so everyone can speak and everyone at home can hear and everyone can hear. This is the business of the school system. We'll expect full proper decorum. It's listed. You know, we've asked everyone to do that, and so I'm asking all of you, just like we have our normal meetings where we discuss serious business, everyone shows up with proper decorum. I expect everyone to be to act in a civil manner towards this board, to our students, and to our public. And if you continue to speak out of turn, we'll have you escorted out of the room. Thank you. Mr. Palmer Denny.
Good evening. My name is Palmer Denny, and I'm a junior at Colgan High School. I wanted to voice my concern about the proposal to limit citizen comment time. I would like to start by giving a friendly reminder to the board that it is the right of the citizens of Prince William County to voice their concerns on policies related to our schools. Many citizens in this community care deeply about what happens to our schools, but with the hectic schedules that go along with this area, they might not be able to sign up in a short window of time that's established. I would also like to know why Dr. Lateef said he wasn't going to push critical race theory. In a recent FOIA request, it was revealed that he said, quote, I have always said that, and I have maintained CRT is what we are doing here. Furthermore, you also admitted that you do not believe in transparency or public discussion. This leads me to believe that you haven't been honest about CRT all along. I realize this may have been taken out of context, but if this is true, then it would seem that you are putting your own personal agenda before the needs of over 90,000 students in Prince William County. CRT teaches that white people are oppressors and other races are oppressed. CRT teaches that the United States is unforgivably racist. CRT teaches that students need to be anti-racist, which according to your definition means there is systemic racism in all our institutions, and therefore they need to fight those institutions. This racist curriculum will turn back the clock on all progress that has been made over the last several decades. I implore this board to instill a curriculum that teaches us of the grave mistakes that have occurred in this country, but also teaches us all of the tremendous strides that have been made to correct those mistakes and help in healing those wounds. CRT in its truest form is not the answer. Thank you.
Lee Bravo.
Hi, I'm from Gainesville. I'm here tonight to voice my opinion about the change in public speaking rules as well. The fact that this decision is being based on what happened in Loudoun County is unjust and unfair. We as parents and taxpayers of Prince William County should have the right to speak our minds about what is taught to our children, and your actions should revolve around what happens in our county, not Loudoun. It has become clear to me that the lack of transparency and communication about everything this board does is purposeful. Holding this meeting during a hurricane, the bullying and discrimination shown by school board members to citizens of this county is purposeful and meant to shut us down. Due to a legal FOIA request, it's become clear that Chairman at Large Lateef has admitted CRT is in fact being taught in our schools, and he is against transparency and public opinion. His texts clearly show in his discussion with Katie Olson Flynn, a member of Prince William County School Board Advisory Council on Equity, that he knows they're teaching CRT and he does not want to hear public opinion, or does he believe in transparency. The formation of the equity statement was essentially done behind closed doors, and they're still keeping us in the dark as how you arrived at that statement. Our problem is not systemic racism, it's systemic corruption. Shame on any of you that vote to shut down the voices of the very parents and students you're supposed to represent. If you vote to change the public comment rules, all of you, then it's obvious that you each support Lateef and his obvious disdain for the students, parents, and citizens of Prince William County, the rule of law, decency, and honesty. We won't forget it. Thank you.
John Jack Cap. John Jack Cap, K-A-P-P.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Cap. Most people know me by Jack. I live in Coles District on 6 Towers Road. I believe you stated that Prince William County does not care about critical race theory. I think tonight you will be proved 1,000% wrong. I've given you 2 handouts. The second is a proposed announcement by a high school principal that I emailed to all high school principals in Prince William County. The first is about critical race theory, which lists 7 hard truths about critical race theory. I encourage you to study it. Briefly, they are: 1, America is about individual equality, not group equality. 2, equal opportunity is not equal outcome. 3, critical race theory is racist. It pits one race against another. Critical race theory denies upward mobility. It denies the idea that hard work and equal protection succeed. Critical race theory immorality pushes intergenerational guilt. It openly teaches resentment by blaming the past on the present. Nobody living today owns slaves, and no one living today was a slave. 6, CRT empowers the elite to persecute. Every Marxist country that has picked a racial, ethnic, religious, or economic group to blame for society's ills has done so by empowering elitists to push mass persecutions. That is not America, but where CRT leads. 7, CRT ignores data. The biggest lie in CRT is that America is racist. No country in the world attracts more minorities. In the end, CRT is Marxism, pushing resentment, blame, guilt, fear, silence, and compliance. Americans cleave by values, not skin color. Martin Luther King stated, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Your job is to teach, not indoctrinate. Unity, not division. Trust, not hate. Patriotism, not socialism. The country I grew up in, the country I love, the country I served 28 years in the U.S. Air Force,
Mr. Cap.
is going to hell in a handbasket, and you, Mr. Chairman, and your Democratic puppets are carrying that basket.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
are
Cap.
the ones that are racist.
We go to Kelly Newcomb.
I'm Kelly Newcomb. My address is on file. The members of the school board are sitting before you today because we, the people, elected them to serve our school system. We pay their salaries. They work for us. The school board's job is not to protect the health of the citizens. The school board's job is to provide a quality education for our children. You cannot provide a quality education when students cannot get enough oxygen to support their growing bodies and brains, or when students are being quarantined for 10 days at a time for being exposed to symptoms of a virus with a 99.9% survival rate. You cannot provide a quality education when students cannot see smiles and facial expressions that are so important for learning. You cannot provide a quality education when students cannot hear or understand teachers behind masks, or when students cannot be near one another and connect with one another. School board, you are failing at your job and our children are paying the price. Do you have any idea the impact of this mentally, physically, emotionally, and developmentally on these children? In 2020, many mental health-related emergency room visits among kids aged 12 to 17 increased by 31%. Depression and anxiety have doubled during the pandemic, yet children have a 0.01% risk of dying from COVID. We are sacrificing mental health for physical health. I don't think that is a trade we can afford. Physical health is much easier to fix. Parents, let me ask you a question. How many times are you going to allow your students' education to be disrupted because they were sent home for quarantine for 10 days for being exposed to symptoms of COVID, despite the fact that both parties were wearing masks? Don't masks work? Entire classes are being quarantined. Do you not think this is a disruption of their education? Parents, how much longer are you going to allow this to happen? It needs to stop now. Our children deserve better than this. Every time we comply with these mandates, we establish a future where our children will not have that option. Let me leave you with one last question. For all the adults in this room, how in the world did you make it to adulthood without ever wearing a mask? Thank you.
Josephine Gilbert. Josephine Gilbert.
Don't mess with my children.
Is the video on? I was told that I should make sure that the video's on. Okay. Good evening, Chair, board members, and community. My name is Josephine Gilbert, and I live in Warrenton. I'm here because I was asked to speak on their behalf. People in your community are afraid to voice their opinion. The big issue tonight is the limitation on citizens' participation. However, I want to start with legislative priorities. I found them very interesting as I got ready to come to this meeting tonight. One way to see what a board would like to accomplish is by looking at their legislative priorities. Listen up, folks. Listen up, folks. Okay, so this is what I noticed. The first item, SOQ and accreditation flexibility, allowing flexibilities for school divisions to meet those standards based upon individual student needs. Excuse me? What? Set standards by individual students' needs? College and career readiness. Schools will still be required to meet certain accreditation requirements, but the focus should be on student achievement. No matter how much student achievement? Remove attendance requirements for accreditation. I find that astonishing. Modify advanced studies diplomas requirements to encourage more rigorous coursework. What that basically means is a lower requirement version of the IB program. Computer coding to satisfy world language graduation requirement. Coding is not a world language. Mathematics probably is a better fit. And the last one, support legislation to establish a state school health advisory committee. The purpose of this committee shall be to advise the Virginia Board of Education, the Governor, the General Assembly on matters relating to the role of employees in public elementary and secondary schools in providing health care services at schools, training associated with the delivery of health care services, and the feasibility of requiring school divisions, to provide any additional proposed health care services. You want to add health care services. Stay in your lane. Stick to teaching our kids. I'll make the last comment. Citizens' participations. Your changes are pitiful. Under the guise of safety and adding more time. G, you're adding 30 minutes by shortening an individual's time. You are a board of, I heard 90,000 children, but you only allow public testimony to 2 hours a month. You don't have to follow the lemmings of Arlington, Fairfax, and Loudoun. We don't trust you anymore. We want cameras in the classroom. Thank you.
Clark Cooper Chitty. Clark Cooper Chitty.
Say it again.
He's coming.
Good evening. My name is Clark Chitty. My address is on file. We'll start off, Chair Lateef, you're a liar. I did not receive an email saying there was only going to be 2 minutes of comment time tonight, nor did the person that called me this afternoon asking me if I'd rather speak virtually because of a little rain. You're a liar. A couple items I'd like to talk about. First is the proposed changed comment time. No logical conclusion can be drawn other than this board wants to limit the time it actually has to sit and listen to their constituents. Does anybody believe that this board is actually going to sit and watch every video submission? Half the time you can't even get a response to an email from some members of this board. The fact that this board is entertaining these changes tells me that the board is planning on some extremely controversial policy changes and doesn't want to have to hear from the people that they actually work for, we the people. Second item has to do with Prince William County Schools' athletic waiver process. Apparently there is a 1-year prohibition on playing sports for a student who misses the specialty program transfer request date of February 1st. This is a VHSL rule designed to keep coaches from poaching players for their programs, but school systems are allowed to have a waiver process. Given the rough year that students were forced to endure this last school year, combined with the fact that the board didn't have a clear picture of what the 21-22 school year was going to look like until May, holding a student to this February 1st deadline in order to be able to have a chance of playing sports in their new school is ridiculous. To keep a child from playing sports after they've transferred schools for academic or mental well-being reasons is just cruel. Prince William County Schools and their Supervisor of Student Athletic Activities, Kelly Gardner, are hiding behind a rule and not truly looking at the individual cases. His lack of concern was on full display with his abysmal response time to emails and phone calls. In my daughter's case, there was no good reason to prohibit her from playing sport that she loves. She was never contacted by any coaching staff at Brentsville before transferring. She made the decision to transfer to a smaller school once it looked like the county was actually going to go in person 5 days a week. As a parent, it was heart-wrenching to see tears streaming down my daughter's face as she was watching the women's volleyball team in the Olympics, because she wasn't going to be able to represent her new school on the court her junior year of high school. For athletic kids, playing sports is a huge part of their overall mental well-being. Prince William County Schools, this board, the new superintendent talk a really good game about being concerned about students' well-being. But sadly, our family's experience is that this school system, from the top down, doesn't give a damn.
Gina Ciarcia. Gina Ciarcia. CIARCIA.
Are you listening, Lateef?
Good evening. My name is Gina Ciarcia. My address is on file, and I am the Republican candidate for the Virginia House of Delegates in District 2. This month, you will be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, where you celebrate the influence and contributions of Hispanics to America. And it's right that we should do this, because from America's earliest days, it has been a land of immigrants. Even from its colonial days, it has been a land of immigrants. In fact, in the late 1800s to early 1900s, there was a great wave of immigration. 16 million approximately immigrated to this country. Many of them were from Eastern and Southern Europe, as opposed to the previous immigrants who had come from Northern and Western Europe. And this greatly altered the ethnic makeup of the United States. In response, schools were charged with the Americanization of these new immigrants and their children. It was the schools who defined what it meant to be an American. It was the schools who defined for these children what an American was and what an American was not. This was done through multiple avenues: textbooks, imagery, story, and specifically classroom instruction. My own family immigrated during this time from southern Italy, and they retained much of their cultural heritage, but they also became Americans. They loved this country, and they adopted American ways and thoughts and fought in her wars. During this time, Emma Lazarus wrote the poem The New Colossus. And in this poem, she gives words to Lady Liberty, who stands in New York Harbor. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, so we can oppress them, so we can victimize them, so we can disenfranchise them? Absolutely not. That is not what Emma Lazarus says in her poem. That is not what Lady Liberty says. She says, "Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." I am an educator, and one of the things that strikes me most is that my students believe what I tell them. And it is sobering, and the gravity of my place as a teacher weighs heavily on me. Getting it right, telling the truth, weighs heavily on me. It is your responsibility as educators to inculcate a love of country and American ideals. This is a national security issue, and I want you to take this charge seriously.
Mike Labman. Then after Mike will be David Sunkel and then Jeffrey Fuller. So if you want to move to the front here, you can start moving to the front.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mike Labman. I'm from Gainesville. My address is on file. I'm a parent of 3 school-age children. So the reason we are all here is to ensure the absolute best future for our children. These kids need to breathe, interact, and see faces. These poor kids are so confused with the flip-flopping requirements and everything going on. Trust the science, they say. Well, there's plenty of science. There's an extensive research that shows developmental damage, psychological harm, headaches, anxiety, depression, lowered oxygen levels, increased carbon dioxide levels, and so on. Masks collect and colonize bacteria and even increase viral load. Given all this, some may still say the risk of COVID outweighs the risk of masks. But children are not in danger. A Hopkins doctor followed 48,000 COVID cases in healthy kids under 18 and 0 died. The CDC reports 335 kids under 18 have died with COVID. Many more die from flu, RSV, and other seasonal illness every year. And we have never considered masking them before because masks do not block viruses. There are countless studies conducted in the past 20 years. I can provide them to you. I will email them to you, and I have a printed copy I can send to you too. There are countless studies conducted in the past 20 years that all agree there's no significant reduction for mask wearing. There's clearly something else going on here, and it's not about health. It's about control. We, the people, are the first branch of government and the creators of government, which is there to serve us and protect our rights. We elect people to represent us and to make the best decisions for our future and for the future of our children. So if the person giving you orders tells you to do something that has been proven to be harmful, how can you just follow orders? Thank you.
Mr. Jeffrey Fuller. Oh, I'm sorry, David Sunkel. Sorry, David Sunkel. Apologies.
Good evening. I live in Bristol, Virginia.
This is a follow-up on an email from July 1st to Miss Adele Jackson. Good evening, Miss Jackson. And this email forwarded a lot of factual information about what the gentleman right before me just spoke of. And my understanding was that that email and its information was forwarded to all the board members. Is that correct? And did all the board members go through that information and take a good in-depth look at it? I'm gonna assume there's, Ms. Wall, are you nodding you did, or?
Mr. Song, this is not a two-way program. Go ahead and use your 3 minutes.
Well, it's all about a discussion.
Not during this session. It's not a give and take. So please go ahead and continue.
Well, that's not a very honest approach. So I'm going to repeat what I said in the email, and I do want a response to this, Mr. Lateef. And what I asked is, herewith I am asking the school board to immediately either make mask mandates and social distancing mandates for children and adults in Prince William County schools null and void the preferable approach, or officially declare that the PWC board opts to not enforce such mandates recommended or handed down to it by other Virginia or federal governmental authorities, which would be an acceptable second solution. Now, I've been given the reason that the board has done what it's done is because it's following the Virginia Department of Health recommendation, which bases its information on the CDC. You need to read Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s new book that's coming out. It's called The Truth About Fauci and How We Got to Where We Are Today. And you need to look at the work of a man called Dr. David Martin, who has done extensive patent research. He has clearly shown the money trail about this whole thing. The Republican candidate mentioned truth a moment ago. That's what it's all about. This is not a pandemic. This is a plandemic. It was born out of Wuhan. Our NIH funded this research. The facts are ubiquitous. Y'all need to protect our children. And I'm going to suggest to every parent listening to me and every citizen of Prince William County, 10 more seconds, that if you don't like what you're seeing, it's time to pull these people out of position and replace them with people who will do the right thing in accordance with facts.
Mr. Fuller next. Jeffrey Fuller.
Hello, board. Can you hear me? My name is Jeff Fuller. I live in Haymarket. You have my address. I brought a couple job aids. For those of you in the audience, you can look at the left and right and see how this board stacks up in terms of whether they're into constitutional government or critical race theory. Now, if you'll notice, board, the constitutional education prefers the individual over the collective. It prefers character over skin color. It prefers opportunity over outcomes. Now, you guys are all on the collective skin color and outcome side, right? It prefers competence over characteristics. It prefers transparency over obscurity and lies. By the way, you guys get that one in spades. It prefers citizens over anti-USA activities. By that I mean, instead of teaching kids to be good citizens, you're teaching them how to be good social justice warriors. And We prefer our kids, and they're our kids, over the state's kids. And we prefer parent values over state values. Dr. Lateef, I know you can't respond to my question, but I did the FOIA request that resulted in the text between you and Dr. Kate Olson Flynn, where you said in response to her, well, I have always said that and I have maintained CRT is what we are doing here. Then you go on to say you're not into transparency, which I gather we can understand from your proposals to limit our speech. So why am I concerned about critical race theory, you ask? Why would anybody? Because you guys don't do it. You don't do critical race theory here. So why am I fired up? In fact, Dr. Lateef can just say, well, we don't do CRT, so you guys can't talk about it because it's not part of policy or operations. You could say that. That's why you shouldn't change the way the language is in your policy. So there's a number of things about critical race theory that concerns me. One is Dr. McCabe knows that no one teaches critical race theory in K through 12. There's no class.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much. We'll take Kia Wilson, then Larry Robinson and Jessica Newton can come up.
Hi, my name is Kia Wilson. My address is on file. I'm here as a minority to speak on behalf of parents who do have children who are immune compromised. My daughter is a first grader and has been hospitalized and placed on ventilators for most respiratory illnesses that children recover from home. As a result, when I found out that we cannot change our mind in reference to the kids being in school or virtual, I began to set up mitigating factors for my daughter and my second grader to help mitigate the risk, since I wanted them to, of course, be back in school. Those plans have not been followed to a T, and as a result, my second grader found herself at a lunch table when she was supposed to be separated with the child who actively had COVID. No one informed me that this had occurred. My child had to come and tell me 2 days later that she was one of 4 children left in the classroom out of over 20 kids. And I was told by the nurse when I called up there that they used a measuring tool to see if my daughter was in close contact. However, no one took into consideration the fact that these are second graders. They interactively learn, they have recess, lunch together, and a lot of other things. And when I met with the Associate Superintendent, Mr. Provencio, I'm told, well, 15 minutes is a long time, as speaking of the CDC protocol. However, it's 15 minutes and 24 hours span time, not 15 minutes consecutively. So in speaking with that, I then went and I put my homebound application in for my first grader, and then was told that it would only be for my first grader and not her sister. When I asked about why the siblings were not able to be grouped together, if it was an issue of keeping immunocompromised kids safe, I was told, well, if children have cancer and other serious illnesses, then that's what homebound is for. However, I beg of you to understand that asthma is one of the leading causing deaths of children under a certain age, especially in the midst of a global pandemic that affects the respiratory system. As a result, I began to continue to advocate for my children. I've contacted the Associate Superintendent's office, the Superintendent's office, and have been given the runaround. Emails not answered, phone calls not responded to, or when I call, I am spoken to curtly, saying that Dr. McDade has my information. What I find interesting is that on the video that was released by PWCS, my daughters are pictured with Dr. McDade, and whereas to you all, they may be a media ploy or some children to take pictures with to show everybody it's okay, to me, they are everything. So they may be 2 out of 90,000 kids, but they are my entire world. So I come here to represent the parents who feel like we're caught between a rock and a hard place. I wish I had the luxury to only care about CRT and no mask and all of that. I'm fighting for my daughter's life. And if I can't fight for her life, then at least allow policies to be put in place that will group siblings together and not allow one sibling to go out to the school and bring something back to her sister, the same way if it was cancer or anything else. Thank you.
Larry Robinson.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Robertson, and my address is on file. I'm just sitting back, listening to all the comments and whatnot, and it's one common goal here that I'm hearing a lot. This is my first time going before the school board, is the lack of communication, open communication. It doesn't matter what situation or what people feel strongly about, it always come back to they're not being communicated to, nor are they being listened to. Now, when I was involved in trying to get response back from the superintendent office and also trying to get response back to come and speak before the school board, to this day, I only gotten one phone call, and the phone call was to tell me how busy the superintendent is. Let me tell you something. I'm a 30-year vet, served in the military, and I have been on every combat field since just cause, to Iraq, to Afghanistan. I am fortunate to have worked as a senior leader for undersecretaries and secretaries, and you cannot get any busier than the Secretary of Defense. I don't think that this school board has the magnitude, or this school district has the magnitude of that. I'm not saying that that's the issue. I applaud you all, I applaud the teachers. However, it's a protocol that the highest person should, adhere to, and that is you get back with people. You are serving the public. Public service is a price we pay for living. And if you choose to get in a job that is in public service, you owe it to your customers to respond, even if it's just. That's one thing I can say about the undersecretaries and the secretaries I have worked for, what they have always brought home to us. I don't care. We service the public. You will respond if it's not the same day or 2 days as a max. The only thing it takes, just send an email. I heard you. I will get back with you. Or so I'm getting a response that the superintendent is busy by Sabrina, and it's the first week of school, and we have so much to do. I'm sorry, she shouldn't have took the job. And the last thing is, I welcome you. I've spent a lot of time in Cook County working with people in Cook County. I welcome you to the school board and to the school system.
Jessica Newton.
I'm Jessica Newton, and I live in Gainesville. Mr. Lateef and some members of the board, I understand it is your intention to limit comment time from parents in future meetings, and I find that awfully suspicious, especially after reading texts between you and a member of the Prince William County School Board Equity Committee. As a tax-paying, property-owning resident of Prince William County, I have to ask myself why. The reason is because you have no intention to get our input, as stated yourself. I don't need to repeat your texts. If you don't want these meetings to light up like neighboring counties, perhaps don't lie to the parents about how we are not going to do critical race theory in one meeting, then say this off the record when that is quite literally your exact intention. Now, let's talk about masks. I just found out today, apparently this was left up to the new superintendent to decide, which is unlawful as she is not an elected member of this board, but rather an appointed official. But nevertheless, when you decided not to give parents the choice whether or not to mask their kids, you put our young, vulnerable children in a very unpredictable situation. My teenage daughters hate wearing masks, but would prefer not to fight or have to defend their beliefs to teachers and staff on a daily basis. To be honest, I think it's the lesser of two evils for them. Putting my children in a situation where they will be constantly bullied and segregated, more publicly shamed because of our religious beliefs as a family is totally unacceptable. Our girls are 17 and 15. They have the ability to make that choice on their own, but my 3-year-old son is a different story. The only thing he wants to do, and yes, it's a Prince William County school, is go to school. He asks me every day. To force my son, who's learning how to communicate with teachers and children of his age, to put a mask on his face is not going to happen. Nobody has the authority over my son's body or over my son's face. But you mean to tell me that against the Virginia code of some code, I don't know, that they aren't allowed to help my son put on his clothes or help him in the bathroom, but they can try to wrangle a mask on his face? I think not. You're putting teachers in a terrible situation to have to combat parents back and forth with paperwork stating my specific religious beliefs that are not required by the state of Virginia. You're creating a hostile environment for my poor son because his teachers are so frustrated with me because I will not stop. I know my rights. I know my son's rights. I know my daughter's rights, and I will always stand up for them regardless of how small you make us feel, because of how polarized you have let this situation become. Yes, you, making us jump through endless hoops. I'm seriously considering putting a listening device in my son's backpack just to make sure he's not treated like a different person at the age of 3 for not wearing a mask, AKA bullying. We're zero tolerance in this county, yes? This situation is that scary for me, and I should never have to worry like that as a parent. Many of you on this board who are supporting this insanity should be ashamed of yourselves. You owe it to the public, to be honest and open. Don't lie and state things behind our back as if this is some kind of joke. You work for us whether you like it or not. Start acting like it before you're relieved of your duties.
Erica Tredenick. Erica Tredenick. Erica Tredenick. Okay, at this point, we'll move to the... Oh, she's coming. Oh.
Hi, I'm Erica. My address is on file. First off, I want to say, like I've always said, I love this county. And while I won't always agree with everything that's taught or everything that is happening currently, I want to start out by saying that I do support our teachers and I love our schools. I have 3 kids, elementary, middle, and high, currently enrolled. The response to this pandemic has by far been my least favorite experience of the last 10 years. Recently, I've done quite a bit of communicating with our schools, staff members, and the superintendent's office. For the most part, I've been treated with respect, kindness, and been able to voice my concerns and have had a professional response. Sadly, that isn't the case across the board for all parents or students. Many parents are continuing to be treated like we're difficult, bad, or unruly because we don't believe what you believe. We don't believe in masking our children. We don't believe that we need to live in fear of a virus that hasn't affected children negatively. We believe that our children thrive off of interpersonal connections, smiles, and the need to feel normal. We want them active in sports, in school, and in life as they have been all summer long and throughout the pandemic on fields across this county. As parents who truly care about our children's safety and well-being, but we have different perspectives on what the well-being of our children looks like, we should be treated with the same respect as other parents who are concerned about their children's safety. We should not be discriminated against because of our strongly held beliefs and lived experiences. And in my opinion, our children shouldn't be put in corners behind plexiglass because of their choice to receive an exemption. Our children are choosing to wear masks that make them sick and lightheaded because they would rather be uncomfortable wearing a mask than isolated from their peers. The same peers that they see at Target, in restaurants, at practice on the weekends without being muzzled, after school, at sports. Another major issue is the inconsistency in the way the rules are implemented in each school. One of my children's schools feels it's necessary to have the kids 6 feet apart in the lunchroom, wrapped in plexiglass enclosures, much like zoo animals. But then the classrooms don't have the same protection. How does that make any sense? If I wasn't willing to continue to call and question why the rules you put out aren't being followed, my children would still be having to listen to rules that are incorrectly being placed on them, such as PE, indoors, exercising with a mask on, required. No, it's recommended. Outdoors, put your mask on. It's required. No, it's 98 degrees. It's not required. It's not part of that. Please be cohesive in what's occurring. It's harmful, it's upsetting, and I will continue to speak up against it because it's wrong. As we watch neighboring counties make the choices to take away our right as parents to decide what's injected in our children's bodies, my hope is that you choose not to do that to these kids or your staff members. My prayer is that you can get back to providing a world-class education and living life mask-free, like many of you have, the last few months before school started. Or possibly we can at least let them take their masks off while sitting down, since we are able to do that at restaurants around the county.
Thank you.
I will continue to speak up in hopes that my kids don't have to and can go back to being kids who enjoy the freedom to breathe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jason, we'll go to the virtual speakers next. Mr. Stevens.
All right,
you wanna
Mr.
take
Chairman, the first speaker is Sandra Kern. Ms. Kern, you can unmute. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jason. Good evening, Dr. McDade, Chairman Lateef, and honorable board members. I am Sandra Kern. My address is on file, and I am a proud parent in the Potomac District. Tonight on your agenda is the topic of citizens' comment time, 19.04. I firsthand have been afforded the opportunities to come before this board to place my concerns at your diocese, to be a concerned parent and stakeholder and try to make the greater good for the community as a perfectly painted picture. However, the picture we paint is not always on the same canvas, and rarely do we have the same paints or pencils. The beauty of it is that I get to use my voice to advocate, yes, to advocate for something that means a lot to me and my students, who is struggling with his journey in education. The presentation tonight to make changes to the policy, I clearly get a picture. It's an order of operations. Maybe it's simple math. I do expect to be fully capable to bring my good trouble to the board and make light of some of the barriers that block a clear view. I'm one of the public voices, and this board is elected to serve. A citizen has the right to address this board with a choir of concerns. This should be for this board to embrace with grace and support as expected of our community. Our children need to be heard. Your stakeholders need to be heard. I understand this is not to silence the many opinions that come forward, but to make each delicate decision with due diligence in the education of our children. Their future must be brighter, bolder, and clear. Limits for the public ideas should not be excluding the citizens who elected you. I appreciate the dedication to the policy of the change. I would like to see additional town halls set up for questions and answers, as many have actually done this evening for wanting answers. The personal dedication is to walk the walk, and that would be your best observation. Transparency should be the request, or I'm sorry, the requirement. That's right, transparency should be a requirement. I would also like to include reading as a life skill, as I advocate for many students with dyslexia, and I will not appreciate that being silenced, as it is my mission, or to be limited in citizens' comment time. I welcome Dr. McDade for the first school year in Prince William County. I look forward to your innovative ideas to propel our students into the future for education. To the board, I look forward to remediation and progress that will catapult our students to a level of learning that exceeds the dreams for them. Together, everyone can advocate to build a future for each and every student to learn in their own way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next speaker is Sarah Honecker. You can unmute. The floor is yours. Sarah Honecker.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Honecker. My address is on file. I'm here because I am trying to gain understanding as to why we are in week 2, and my son has been late to school, and he's been brought home late every single day. 5 o'clock when he gets out of school at 3 o'clock is unacceptable. He has missed his first period class every day, and I had to deal with attendance because of the lack of bus drivers that we have. But we were ready to start school this year. Schedules weren't ready, and yet you want our children to be put back into classrooms that were not ready for them to go to. Not only that, there are no partitions, the kids are not 6 feet apart, and are we checking for vaccines for those that can be vaccinated? Clearly that's not the case, because my child can't be vaccinated because he's not of age. So we're not taking into consideration of the safety comes first. Not only that, it is under the discretion of the school to tell us whether or not our child was in contact with someone that has COVID, and that does not sound safety to me. My son has asthma. So So if he runs into that case, just wear a mask because safety is our first priority. The plan A that you all did at the umpteenth hour is not working. So what is your plan B, C, or D to rectify the situations that are happening? I have written letters, I have called individuals, and I've received no response, which is unacceptable. I work for the federal government and they have made no plan for us to come back to work. You know why? Because safety is a priority. All I hear is a much apology. Please be patient with us. We're working this out. You've had a year and a half, almost 2 years to try to work it out. And if it's not worked out, then maybe we need to go back to a virtual learning because it was working. They didn't have to deal with these issues, not being able to get to school on time, not being able to be brought home on time. I'm watching first graders, second graders get off the bus at 5:30, 6 o'clock. How is that safe? And now you're asking us to just deal with it, and now you're throwing us, along with the teachers and administration, to the lion's den to figure it out because you all don't even have the answers to help us through this process. But please be patient and understand what we're going through. I'm done speaking.
All right, the next speaker is Richard Jesse. You can unmute.
Good evening. My name is Richard Jesse. My address is on file, and my wife is Lily Jesse, a member of the school board. I'm very upset this evening because I remember at the end of the last school year at all the board meetings that we were not allowed to speak to anything unless it was on the agenda. I don't know when this rule changed, but nobody informed me that we could speak on any topic tonight. And so I'm gonna ramble a little bit because of that. The other thing, as most of you know, I'm probably not on the side of most of the speakers tonight, but I do agree with those speakers that I was not told that, the speaking time was only 2 minutes. In writing on the website, the special notice clearly stated it was 3 minutes. So I don't know where that happened. But let me talk a little bit about my position on CRT. First of all, CRT to me, you can define it all you want, and most people will only use the way they want to define it. I want to say that the history in this country needs to be taught. For example, I served 2 tours as an enlisted person before I got commissioned in Vietnam and came back in 1966 from Vietnam. If my parents lived in Virginia, they would have been arrested because they got married in the 1940s and my mother was white and my father was black. It wasn't until 1967 that Virginia made it legal for interracial marriages. I would say to most of you that what you are concerned about is that you don't want your kids to understand and realize what your forefathers, not all of you, but a lot of you have done, and a lot of you sat silent. From 1909 to 1949, 52 black men were hung or executed for rape. In the same time period, 1909 to 1950, not one white person was executed for rape. If that's not a disparity, I don't know what is. Both crimes are wrong. Most of you will agree that Bill Cosby was a good guy for a while.
Mr. Stevens, time is up. Please have order in the room, please. Thank you. Mr. Stevens, please keep to the time.
All right, the next speaker is Kimberly Stewart.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Stewart. My address is on file with the clerk. I am a mother of 2 students in Prince William County and a veteran educator of 16 years. I first want to take a moment and publicly thank Dr. Jocelyn Hart, Ms. Denise Hubner, and Mr. Scott Baldwin from Haymarket Elementary for their recent assistance and attention to my concern regarding the ridiculous COVID-19 protocols this county is implementing on our elementary schools. It is overwhelming the system and our parents and our students. For the record, I did not hear back from one of the elected members on this board regarding my concerns, and all were emailed. This board has a duty and responsibility to this community, and I'd like to remind you that those powers, roles, and responsibilities are given to you as an elected official by the people. You work for the people, all the people, and all people who have a voice should be heard by this board. Under the U.S. Constitution Amendment 1, all individuals are guaranteed the right to free speech, petition, assemble, and freedom of religion. I think many of you on this board have forgotten this guaranteed right and freedom to all Americans, all citizens, and residents of this county. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and Amendment 1 of the Constitution is guaranteed to be upheld at the state and local level. The newest recommendations by this board for public comment, regulations, and rules will inevitably hinder the ability of every constituent in this county to be heard. While emails, phone calls, and videos are all cute and can be a starting point, there's absolutely no greater impact or availability to our elected officials than standing right in front of you to be heard. Our voices matter. All of our voices matter. Whether you agree or disagree with them, they matter. They have a right to be heard here in this setting as you're the elected official that was given the power of your position by those voices. Public comment on mask mandates, COVID-19 protocols, mandatory vaccinations on our employees and on our student athletes, and other important policies and regulations demand your attention, and they demand that you allow all constituents you represent to have their voices heard. I'll end with this. If this board makes the decision to mandate vaccinations on employees and student athletes like surrounding counties, you will lose good teachers. You will lose more students to homeschool and private schooling, and you will lose the talent of so many athletes that bring recognition and funding to this district. If just one employee or student athlete has any type of negative reaction to that vaccine, you are held accountable because of your overreaching and arbitrary policies. All people have the right to medical freedom when it comes to their health care, and I hope you consider the long-term implications of that choice. Finally, to parents, now is the time to find your God and get a good doctor, because you have the right under Virginia law to medical freedom, freedom of religion, and against overreach by our public system. It's time to stand up to the increasing tyranny of this board. I demand this board stop harming our children psychologically, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and respect the mothers and fathers.
Thank you. The next speaker is Cynthia Snyder. Ms. Snyder, you can unmute.
Did I do it? Can you hear me?
Yes, you have the floor.
Okay. My name is Cynthia Snyder, and I live at 9990 Marion Drive. Good evening, board members. I'm a retired teacher, mother, and grandmother, and decided to do my homework and see what critical race theory was all about and how it would affect our children, parents, and teachers. Here's just a fraction of what I found. Instead of solving a problem regarding race, CRT creates problems and is, in itself, racist. How so, you say? Critical race theory is an anti-American ideology founded in the 1990s based on a Marxist view that paints one group, all white people, as oppressors, and the other group, blacks and minorities, as the oppressed. It reduces everyone's identity to the color of their skin or ethnic group. CRT stereotypes, scapegoats, and demeans people based on their race. Our Constitution guarantees equal opportunity to all, but CRT substitutes their word equity, which is not the equality of opportunity, but the equality of result and outcome. Our schools should be places of positivity, an environment that promotes academic success, learning, kindness, sharing, caring, which bring about healthy relationships. But CRT is divisive and promotes fear, disunity, and negativity. It is toxic to students and teachers alike. Currently, CRT has been injected into almost every government agency, public forum, and now in schools and on the web. This is a system used in communist countries by their tyrannical governments. and it doesn't belong in our America. CRT is spawned and perpetuated by the erroneous views of the 1619 Project that claims our nation's founding was racist and built on slavery and oppression, instead of the facts that America's founding fathers were people who escaped oppression to forge a nation with the ideals of liberty, freedom, and justice for all, as expressed in our Declaration of Independence and Constitution. The false 1619 narrative has been fact-checked and debunked, but it's still being peddled in our colleges and schools and the public square. When I substitute taught in PW schools, one of the programs for every student was Character Counts. And the speech that Dr. Martin Luther King gave said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." CRT is instead a nightmare that pits one race against another and fosters hate and suspicion. The true definition of CRT should read, creating racial tension, and this anti-American destructive false theory has no place in our schools, K through 12 and colleges. And if you could see my...
All right, thank you. And the last speaker I have is Annie Peguero. If you can unmute, you have the floor.
We are Annie and Albert Peguero, and our address is on file. We're here to present facts that show that obscene stickers on a high school student's vehicle are not protected under the First Amendment, and request specific verbiage added to the school vehicle policy and code of behavior to prohibit obscene materials on student vehicles on school property. Recently, a vehicle in a high school parking lot had obscene stickers in the back window, which all cars passing through the parking lot for drop-off and pickup could see. This includes students from the adjacent K-8 school. The obscene material was sexual in nature and mocked the Black Lives Matter civil rights movement. The words on the stickers are inappropriate for this forum, so I won't say them at this time. The school security officer that I spoke with claimed the student is protected under the Freedom of Speech Amendment, and the school would not require the student to remove the stickers. We disagree and want to see a policy against obscene materials because of a landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court, which ruled obscene material is not protected by the First Amendment. Miller v. California, 413 United States 15 in 1973, was a landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court, modifying its definition of obscenity. For something to be considered obscene and not protected by the First Amendment, there's a 3-pronged standard called the Miller test. Prong 1 states whether the average person would find the material appeals to lustful interest or sexual stimulation or gratification. The average person here is any child that can read. My 6 and 8-year-old daughters, high school-aged girls and boys. The words this student chose to represent BLM without a doubt appeals to lustful interest and sexual stimulation. Prong 2, whether the material describes sexual conduct in an offensive way. It does. Prong 3, whether the material lacks artistic, political, or scientific value. These materials actually mocked the global Black Lives Matter civil rights movement. Obscene material such as this does not pass the Miller test and is not protected under the freedom of speech or expression. The student removed the sexual in nature BLM stickers from the vehicle, but we asked that instead of analyzing vehicle stickers on a case-by-case basis, like the security officer stated, verbiage be included in the school vehicle policy and code of behavior moving forward. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, that's the last speaker I have.
Okay, so next we'll move to,
Excuse me, we put our name on the Zoom, but she never contacted us, so we came
I'm
physically.
sorry, we there are many folks that signed that could not. At this,
Dr. Lateef, we had a Barbara Dodge and a
Right.
George Dodge that were on the virtual list that were not signed in, so.
Well, we called the,
Are you Barbara Dodge?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, so you were
And
on
I-
the virtual list. We'll go ahead and do you then, Mr.
well, yeah, and my husband George also, but
And George as well. Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
we were never given the material though for the Zoom, so that's why we physically came, yeah. Good evening, Chair and board members. My name is Barbara Dodge, Coles District. I can't believe that I'm here tonight to speak against teaching school children hate, racism, and division, as critical race theory does. Whether you disguise critical race theory and call it teaching tolerance, justice, equity, or inclusiveness, it is teaching intolerance, injustice, and exclusion. Derek Bell developed critical race theory. Mr. Bell was a Marxist. He started with a false premise that race is hidden in everything and all whites are racist, which a student of Bell's, Robin DiAngelo, wrote about in her book, White Fragility. However, you don't correct racism by shaming someone else for the color of their skin. This itself is racist. The goal of CRT is to oppress the perceived oppressors, take power away from the powerful. The goal is to simply invert the social structure and swapping the roles of oppressed and oppressors. A far better approach is to teach the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If we all did that, we could achieve Dr. Martin Luther King's dream of one day living in a nation where people would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. CRT wants to remove God from our lives because God is the greatest oppressor, and Marxism hates God. Critical race theory holds that society is structurally racist and that only its wholesale restructuring can fix the problem. Yet CRT is inherently racist in its worldview. It is a paranoid worldview where everyone outside the group is oppressing the group. It is divisive, not unifying. It is only the peace of Christ, a peace the world cannot give, that we can conquer the world and its violence and have true unity. Many schools and workplaces have embraced the ideas of critical race theory by forcing training programs. Employees are browbeaten into accepting the concept and then forced to engage in perpetuating a racist society. Those courageous enough to resist this heavy-handed attempt at mind control are scorned and rebuked in front of their colleagues. Critical race theory should be called radical race theory. It is an attempt of radical ideologues to destroy the Prince William County school system and a system of government that they hate. Don't corrupt the minds of our children and grandchildren with hate. We can do better. God bless the United States of America and Prince William County. Thank you.
George Dodge.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is George Dodge, and my address is on file. I have lived in Virginia for 33 years. I have taught in middle school and high school outside of Virginia. And here in Virginia, I've taught at Bridgewater College, James Madison University, where I was a member of the Faculty Senate, and one of my 5 degrees is in history. As Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name is still a rose. Likewise, critical race theory, or CRT by any other name, is still CRT. For example, the goal of teaching from a diverse perspective to create anti-racist and culturally responsive curriculum through the lens of equity sounds good, but in reality is nothing more than CRT by another name. Critical race theory pushes the distorted concept that the most important thing about a person is their race, separating it from the person as an individual. It divides people by those who are minoritized and by those who are privileged and oppressors, advancing Marxist theology that by default, all interactions are derived from racism. Our nation and history is built on racism, and all inequities are ascribed to racism. CRT believes racism is present in every aspect of life, every relationship, and every interaction. CRT rejects all potential alternatives as forms of racism, making itself only allowable game in town. Where CRT is implemented, no matter by what euphemism it is called, indoctrination and censorship of opposing views is taking place. The underlying themes that are driving people to be consumed about race over individual conduct, promoting race-shaming students, welcoming dangerous Marxist ideology, and working to divide an educational system by teaching young children to see and judge people by race or ethnic group rather than by character or merit. To that end, the whole effort is itself racist. Even minority parents are decrying the actual racism. Recently, a Colorado father who was black and a descendant of slaves spoke before a school board and denounced CRT, saying that racism in America would be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support, including public education. CRT only treats race as socially constructed groups, so there are no individuals in CRT. CRT perpetuates the idea that all white people are racist, including the 360,000 Union soldiers who died that the slaves might be free. Parents want authentic conversations about what unites Virginians and Americans, not what divides us. The current direction that the school is taking is directly opposite to Martin Luther King's dream. It takes us back 100 years in racial relationships. We should be guiding students to understand that everyone is an individual and should be treated as such. We should be teaching the golden rule rather than teaching them to treat everyone by the color of the skin.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. And your name is?
Melissa Reedy. I was signed
sorry,
up.
Miss Reedy, we don't.
Well, you
have
had one
on the
person
list.
not show up, so you have time to listen to one extra person. I was signed
No,
up.
I don't have time.
Even though one person didn't show
We didn't
up?
have you sign up. And
I was signed up. I can show you my email that I got a
we've-
response from.
We've turned a number of folks away, and to be fair to all of them.
You haven't turned
we'll
anybody
have a
away, but
meeting
somebody
in
else
2
didn't
weeks.
show up. Somebody else didn't show up. I should be able to have that 3
We've turned a
minutes.
number of folks away online.
Can I just have my 3 minutes?
At this point, the school board will take a recess, and we'll be back after our recess, and that is the end of citizen comment time. Thank you, everyone.
Even though somebody else didn't.
Okay, the school board's returning to open session. We'll move on to, no, we're on 15, communications technology. This item's on for information. Mr. Guilfoyle?
Good evening. This evening I come before you to discuss briefly our legislative priorities for the 22 General Assembly session. Mr. Jim Council, our lobbyist, is joining us virtually from Richmond this evening. I believe he'll be joining us here in a minute, coming on screen. So to summarize the items that are before you in the board agenda item, this year's priorities are consistent with our board's past year's priorities. The priorities are focused on advocating for additional funding resources for our students, teachers, and schools. Additionally, at board member request, the statement of support for funding the Governor's School at Innovation Park was expanded to advocate for additional resources to support our increased attendance at the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. The priorities also continue to advocate against unfunded mandates that unnecessarily burden our teachers, administrators, and others without any additional resource. Following the approval of the priorities at the next school board meeting, the communications office will build out our supporting materials to communicate with our local delegation. Additionally, we will work with the chairman to determine a time and place to hold our annual briefing between the school board and our local delegates and local senators as well. In December, Mr. Jim Council will also brief school board members on the latest developments in legislation that are being considered for the January session, and we will support school board member advocacy in the January timeframe. I'll now ask Mr. Jim Council to provide us a brief outlook on the January session. Mr. Council?
Go ahead and unmute, Mr. Council.
He seems to be. There he goes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the school board, good evening. Let me first say that it's probably been a year and a half since I met with you in person, and I had planned on doing it tonight. But thanks to Matt with the weather forecast, I appreciate you letting me do it by Zoom. And secondly, I really want all of you to know that I really appreciate the opportunity to represent the Prince William Schools at the upcoming General Assembly session. Matt asked me to touch on some particular issues that I thought might arise early next year, but let me preface all that by a couple comments or observations. First of all, as all of you know, this is an election year, and we know we will be getting a new governor. So we will be starting with Governor Northam's budget, but certainly a new governor sworn in January will have an impact on that. And I'll also say I'm not in the forecast business, but if you read the papers, it looks like the polls are within margin of error. So at this point, I'm not sure if we will have a Dem or Republican governor, but that will certainly have an impact on the next session. And even so, some other local polls suggest that there's some key swing House seats, primarily in the Richmond area, that could actually impact who controls the House of Delegates. Now, if that occurs, then it would be a real game changer. But given that as a background, let me just address a couple issues that come to mind that I think will be in the forefront this session, but not necessarily in any particular order. School discipline. If you recall from 2 years ago, Just Children was very effective in addressing issues regarding SROs and school discipline. They were fairly dormant last year, but in conversations I've had, I'm really expecting them to come back this year and be pushing hard on more limitations on school suspensions and expulsions. Secondly, another big topic coming up, I think, will be school construction. As some of you may know, in the special session earlier this month, when the General Assembly convened to spend about $3.2 billion in federal money, they did appropriate about $259 million for school modernization. But that's not really the end of that story. There also is a study commission spearheaded by Senator McClellan that is really taking a look at school construction and funding at a higher level. And I would not be surprised if we don't try and get some proposed mandates in this session that really dictates what should be included in new school construction, and also may impose limitations on what school divisions may be able to put in new construction. Another topic I think will be of great interest is student meals. As we all know, one of the Prince William delegates has taken a keen interest in that, and I think while she's made some great and admirable headway on, I would say, deficiencies in the school meal program, probably the ultimate goal there would be free school meals for all students. And interestingly enough, although I have not been able to actually find the specific language, it's my understanding that in the $3+ trillion federal proposal that has recently passed the House, it's my understanding that in there is federal subsidy to provide free student meals for everyone. So that will be something else to watch, both at the state and federal level. In addition to that, we probably are going to see some movement at the General Assembly to put more limitations on what school divisions can do with the at-risk funding. If you recall, there was a equity funding proposal last year that did not get through. I think that will come back, and I think the end result of that will be that there are more limitations placed at the state level on how school divisions can spend that at-risk money. And then finally, or next to finally, I should say, if you remember Senate Bill 1303, Senators Donovan and Peterson were effective in getting the bill through that put us all back in school in person. If COVID is still a real threat in January, I think we may see something at the General Assembly legislative level about what schools are required to do in relation to COVID. And then finally, I would say that if we do end up with a Republican governor, I think there will be a real, and I should say maybe not only Republican governor, but Republican House. I think there'll be a real push to do something with charter schools. And my big fear there is that I think the effort would be made to move the governance of charter schools and the formation of charter schools from the local school division to the State Board of Education. So I'd be glad to answer any questions, but they are some of the big issues I see coming at us in the next session.
Thank you, Mr. Counsel. Those are our
Any
complete
questions? Any questions from the board? Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Counsel. It's always nice to see you, and I appreciate the service that you provide for us in Richmond and continuing to keep us informed and updated on current events so that we can conduct our business appropriately. Mr. Guilfoyle, I was just wondering if you, for the sake, we're at a public meeting, have we had any changes to our legislative agenda in the past year or so?
So the primary additions, as I mentioned, was the expansion to advocate for additional funding, local funding to support our increased enrollment at the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, as well as we have a legislative priority around increased flexibility for school divisions in handling the COVID-19 response, as well as relief funding for COVID-19. Those have been really the two big newest additions to the legislative priorities. The remainders remain consistent with our previous years, which again are really primarily focused around advocating for additional resources for our schools, the standard of quality. And Mr. Counsel touched on it, but this is a biennium budget year, so that really will be the number one biggest item that we'll be focused on in January.
And could you explain what it means to be in a biennial budget year?
Sure. So essentially, this is the year. Virginia has a 2-year process to set their budget. So this is when the budget is set at the state level for what kind of funding the schools will receive in the next 2 years.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Matt, if I may add just one thing, generally speaking, Virginia is very conservative and careful about how it forecasts revenue. In the first special session, which goes back to spring, at that point in time, our revenues were running about $500 million above what they had forecasted. I think, while I haven't seen a more current figure, I think that continues to be the trend. So I don't think having money to spend in the next session will be the big issue.
Thank you, Mr. Counsel.
Ms. Wall?
Thank you, Mr. Counsel. I appreciate the overview about the few key issues to watch. My question is, with those key issues like school discipline, construction, meals, do we then make a statement or a position on how we would like the legislature to vote on those key priorities? Because I think that would be interesting to know.
So most of what Mr. Counsel discussed are already found in our legislative priority package. There are items that address each one of those items.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, Lily Jesse. Hi, how are you? I just, maybe it's a clarification. I read somewhere in our agenda items, or in the legislative agenda item, COVID relief for in-person only, and something, are they looking at COVID relief for in-person, but not COVID relief for virtual learning? Or is that, maybe I'm confused on that, Jim.
So, Ms. Jesse, I can speak to that. So the legislative priority discusses relief to the statutorily required in-person learning requirements. And essentially what we were talking about there was specifically to allow us the flexibility to meet students' needs that may be virtual.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, seeing any no other questions, thank you, Mr. Counsel and Mr. Guilfoyle. We really appreciate all the work you all do down for us in Richmond. And as you point out, Mr. Counselor, if money's not the issue, then the priorities that we set are going to be critical, and navigating our priorities through the General Assembly going to be absolutely critical. So thank you very much for all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Moving on next to 1602, proposed sale of Vpsa bonds, fall. Mr. Wallingford, our favorite time of the year.
Yes, it is, Dr. Lateef. Good evening, Dr. Lateef and members of the board. This is an item that you see on an annual basis. It's our annual Vpsa bond sale. This year, it was our intention to sell just a little bit more than $124 million for a variety of projects. Because of savings in projects and because of savings in operations from prior years, we're going to be able to reduce that amount from 124 to about 64, just a little bit over $64 million, which is really very good news. That'll save us a great deal in debt service over the 20-year period. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Wallingford, can you just speak to the fact that, over the last couple of years, we've sold our bonds at incredible rates. That's added to the savings we're sort of realizing as well in debt servicing. And then do you anticipate getting good rates this year again?
So, very good question, Dr. Lateef. Over the past 3 or 4 years, we have seen historically low rates, less than 3% in every case, and in some cases in the lower threes, 2.3, 2.4%. Those are astonishingly low rates. Our expectation is to see rates that are below 3% again this year, but the markets will dictate that when we go to sale in September.
Okay. Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wallingford, when I hear you speaking, I've been here for a while, so I understand what you say when you refer to our savings. But I think there's a public maybe misconception that we saved a lot of money because schools were not necessarily open throughout the entire pandemic to everyone and functioning at full capacity, even though we obviously had students in on day one. But I don't think that that's a commonly understood fact of when you say savings, that we're not talking about the fact that we saved a lot of money because we didn't have full capacity, and that you're talking about our operational budget, and that maybe you could expand on that and let the public know, because to my knowledge, we've never been fully funded as we've requested. So I just don't want the public to misinterpret what you're saying, if you don't mind.
Understand, no, and again, a very good question. The first thing I'd say with regard to operations, we were fully operational all of last year. That doesn't mean we had students in every building, all of our students in every building, but all of our staffing was working. Every single employee who's employed now, except for the turnover, obviously, those folks were working last year. Salaries about 85 to 90% of our total budget. So our expenditures in fiscal 21, the last year, were somewhat reduced, but not substantially reduced. When I say savings from prior year's operations, I'm not referring only to fiscal 21. Again, a very good question. What I'm talking about is savings that have accrued over the years, allowing us a little bit of latitude to put more cash to capital, which is over the past 5-6 years, something we haven't been able, haven't had the ability to do. And so this is good news from a variety of perspectives. But again, just because we accrued some savings last year and in prior years, that people should not be confused by the fact that we were fully operational for all 90,000 of our students.
Thank you, Mr. Wallingford. I appreciate that.
Ms. Wall.
I just want to say thank you for the good work. This is great news. It's always nice to get some great news on the financial front. Appreciate your department and all their hard work, and just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, we'll move to, we'll be skipping 1701. Our students will not be here this evening. They'll be at our next board meeting because of the weather this evening. We'll move to 1801, superintendent's time. Dr. McDade.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm excited to share division updates during my first regular school board meeting as a new superintendent. Last week, we successfully opened the new school year on Monday, August 23rd, welcoming more than 90,000 students back to school for in-person and virtual instruction. I'm excited to report that our preliminary total enrollment has exceeded our projections by about 60 students overall, putting us at approximately 90,060. We expect this number may fluctuate over the coming weeks. It's something we will be watching closely, and we will be providing regular enrollment updates to that end. I believe that meaningful engagement is requisite for success, and during the first 2 weeks of school, I had the pleasure of visiting 16 schools, bringing the total number of school visits to 45 since my arrival to the school division. In addition to these school visits, I've also hosted 18 parent listening sessions at schools throughout the division and held 12 listening sessions for staff, engaging with a total of more than 300 different members of the PWCS team throughout that process. During my time listening and learning throughout the school division, I have acquired a wealth of information about strengths as well as opportunities for continuous improvement. I appreciate everyone who has participated thus far in these valuable listening sessions, because as we move forward with the development and implementation of our strategic plan, which is currently underway, feedback and buy-in is important. We have 4 working groups to address each of our 4 key commitments. Those 4 commitments are learning and achievement for all, family and community engagement, positive culture and climate, and organizational coherence. To date, 4,100 stakeholders have provided input and feedback on the strategic plan development, and we expect to release our comprehensive strategic plan later this fall. In terms of learning in the weeks and months ahead, currently 97% of our students are experiencing learning through an in-person educational model. Last week, the state released Spring Virginia Standards of Learning scores, and the data makes it clear that the pandemic has seriously impacted student learning. We will always strive for academic progress for every student so that all students reach their full potential. I believe the academic stakes this year are very high. That is why we have posted our plan to address unfinished learning. The PWCS Plan for Recovery, Acceleration, and Re-engagement provides comprehensive academic, social, emotional, and mental health support in our schools. The American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 will help fund the implementation of this plan. I encourage anyone interested in reviewing the plan to go to our website at www.pwcs.edu. A presentation of the full unfinished learning plan will be shared at the next school board meeting scheduled for September 15th. While we have many successes to celebrate, I also recognize some of our challenges that we've experienced within the first 2 weeks. One of the largest has been transportation and traffic. While most of our more than 600 buses arrived on time, we know that this was not true for everyone. I sincerely appreciate the patience of our students and families who have experienced delays. To address this issue, we will continue to maximize our bus routes and work to improve traffic flow, which should help minimize delays. We are also working to address the shortage of bus drivers, which is an issue that school divisions nationwide are experiencing. Our teams are working to make real-time adjustments based on data, including delay times. We are committed to continuous improvement, and in the past week, our overall afternoon drop-off time has improved by 45 minutes. Additionally, 30 new drivers are currently in the training process as we work to close the vacancies that exist. Put simply, we're committed to continuing to improve in this area. I also share our community's concern regarding the recent incident that occurred at the conclusion of a sporting event at Freedom High School last Friday. As a school division, we have been in contact with all the school communities that have been impacted to ensure adequate supports have been provided to both students and staff. Our safety and security team will be collaborating with Freedom High School staff to provide support to bolster safety and security practices and supports to students and staff. We'll also be taking this time to review all safety and security practices for large events throughout the division. But I also want to take a moment to just acknowledge the Freedom High School administrative team and entire staff in their response to a situation that was out of their control, and the way that they sprung into action to support and protect our students during a very challenging time. No one knows, how to respond sometimes in a crisis, but to see the way that our educators and our leaders protected our students just shows the dedication and commitment that we have in this school division. So I do want to acknowledge and show support for the Freedom High School school staff and administration. As for some other broad takeaways during my short time as superintendent, I have witnessed the true resiliency of our staff, students, and their families. in overcoming the difficulties of the ongoing pandemic. I am impressed with our division's employees, including administrators, teachers, and support staff, as we work collaboratively to reconnect and re-engage our students. And I want to thank our entire PWCS community for your diligence in preparing for this school year. And I know that together we can and will make it a success. Finally, safety continues to be a top priority as we work to prevent the spread of COVID-19. PWCS works collaboratively with the Prince William Health District to support COVID-19 contact tracing protocols. At this moment, public health and public education are truly intertwined, and we're remaining extremely diligent. We will continue to follow the science, examine the data, and listen to the experts. When it comes to COVID-19, communication to families, to staff, and to the entire community matters. As a reminder of processes, only close contacts will receive direct communication if there's a need for student or staff quarantine. This is in accordance with the health data protections. PWCS does not identify individuals who may be treated as having COVID-19. Therefore, general school communications are provided to those who are not close contacts. In addition, the school division has an anonymous tip line for reporting any safety concerns, including those related to health protocols, so that members of the school community have a way to come forward if they have concerns. That number is 703-791-2821 and can also be found on our website. At this time, I would like to invite Denise Hebner, our Associate Superintendent for Special Education and Student Services, to provide an update on the COVID-19 protocols for schools.
Good evening, Chairman Lateef, Vice Chair Zargapur, members of the school board, and Superintendent McDade. Next slide, please. So this evening, I'm pleased to be speaking with you and sharing how we'll be implementing the interim guidance for COVID-19 prevention in Virginia pre-K-12 schools. If you'll notice on the slide above that it looks very similar to the previous guidance, at least the cover does. It's important to note that the updated guidance has a date in the bottom right corner. And so when you're looking at guidance and reviewing protocols, it'd be important to make sure that you have the most updated copy. This is available on the VDOE website, and we have many links to it as well on our website. Next slide, please. So the guiding principles do remain the same. Students benefit from in-person learning. We are putting education first, and we're focusing on prevention, considering the needs of our community, and we have been very flexible and innovative, and we continue to look for innovative and challenging ways to overcome challenges. Rather than seeing the problems, we are focusing on the solutions, because our students' safety and our staff's safety and well-being is our #1 priority. Next slide, please. In order to help our stakeholders and our staff members be informed, we have comprehensive information available on our website, so I do encourage everyone to take a look at the information available. Next slide, please. Under the interim guidance, our mitigation strategies, or the prevention strategies that are focused, is promoting vaccination, consistent and correct use of masks, physical distancing, which we do implement to the greatest extent possible, being that we do have 97% of our students back in our buildings. Screening testing is recommended, but it's not something that we are utilizing at this time. Ventilation, hand washing and respiratory etiquette, cleaning and maintaining health of facilities, excuse me. Staying home, so creating a culture of acceptable absenteeism when you are not feeling well, and making sure that you are getting treated by a healthcare professional, as well as contact tracing in collaboration with our health district. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you'll see some information about vaccination in Virginia. I'll give you a moment to review. Next slide, please. And there is the overall view of the state of Virginia as well, with Prince William County highlighted. Next slide, please. In the state of Virginia, you can see a breakdown by age. As of today in Prince William County, adults ages 65 and over are 81% vaccinated. Over 18, we're about 67% vaccinated, and 12 and over is about 65% vaccinated. So we will continue to look at strategies including promotion of vaccination in order to keep our students and staff safe. Next slide, please. As always, we encourage you to work with your building administrator when you have a concern. They are the people on the ground floor there and have the most information available to help resolve concerns. However, if you are not comfortable speaking with a school staff member or administrator, we do have our anonymous tip line that Dr. McDade outlined for you, and the number is there on the slide, 703-791-2821. 2821. Next slide, please. So the CDC has highlighted the importance of consistent and correct use of masks. This is one of the mitigation strategies that we are currently using. Next slide, please. So you may have heard me say before that our staff and student safety is our #1 priority. Therefore, for our staff members who do perform high-risk tasks, we will be providing high-risk N95 masks as required for those who come in direct contact with COVID positive or potentially COVID positive individuals, as well as providing to all staff members who so desire a KN95 mask at no charge until our supplies run out. Next slide, please. So you'll see just a definition of what the CDC does consider to be a mask. We do have this outlined as well in our emergency face mask regulation 275-2. We do ask that individuals, when they enter our building, utilize a face mask. Next slide, please. So our overall mask guidance is available on the website, and it is also outlined, all of our policies and procedures in regulation 275-2. Next slide, please. So I would just like to make some clarification or emphasize that on our chart, you will see that in certain situations we have recommended. Recommended does mean it is not required, but it is encouraged should the student choose that option. But students are not required and should be allowed to make their choice in certain situations, such as when they are outdoor for PE, outdoor for recess, and other areas that are indicated on the chart. Next slide, please. So what you're viewing is the bottom of our mask chart there. You can see that's highlighted in red. I'd just like to make a note that our guidance does make accommodations for a variety of circumstances, such as disability or medical need, as well as for specific instructional needs. Next slide, please. So our public health order does outline the persons with conditions or disabilities that prohibit them from wearing a mask shall be allowed this accommodation. Any person who declines to wear a mask because of a sincerely held religious objection may also request a reasonable accommodation. Next slide, please. And again, just to emphasize that we are consistent with the public health order, we have implemented processes for families to document and request religious and medical concern exemptions. Staff members may contact Human Resources for accommodations, and students and staff may refer to Regulation 275-2 for our processes. Next slide, please. So you'll note the difference. Physical distancing is outlined previously last year. You remembered me standing here saying it all the time. We're going to stay 3 feet apart. It's required. We have to. Our guidance has changed. Now the guidance does tell us that we are prioritizing education, even if we are not able to maintain that distance, that we will be having in-person learning. With that being said, we do strive to keep 3 feet of distance in our classrooms, or as much distance as possible at all times. Next slide, please. So you'll notice in our cafeteria, we are taking steps, including seating charts, potting, providing additional spaces when possible in order to minimize the number of students that would be impacted as a close contact. Next slide, please. So one of the questions that we frequently get is how is ventilation in our schools? Our facilities team has done an excellent job. Site evaluations are conducted, and we are working to ensure that our equipment is functioning and is providing the highest level of proper ventilation. Facility services monitors the systems closely, and they have proper operation and optimal ventilation in our buildings. You can see that there are other strategies that we do implement. We do make available hand hygiene supplies, hand sanitizer, hand soap, and opportunities for students to utilize hand washing, as well as keeping our facilities' high-touch areas cleaned frequently. Next slide, please. We encourage all of our staff and students to monitor their health, stay home when you don't feel well, and we do ask that you daily evaluate your health. We have this daily health questionnaire available for parents on our website, on the Office of Student Services, for a reminder. Next slide, please. To help ensure that everyone has accurate information about when quarantine is possible or needed, or isolation, we have provided you with some links to the information on the Virginia Department of Health. I am going to again emphasize it is important to use the links rather than containing a PDF, because the materials do update frequently, and you'll want to make sure that you have the most recent guidance. One of the key things that I think I'd like to review is close contacts. So I'll ask to move to the next slide, please. So there has recently been an update. On the 26th, we did receive a revision to what the close contact exception in K-12 settings is. So Virginia Department of Health and VDOE recognizes that we want to keep our children in person and learning, and therefore we do have the close contact that takes into consideration that children in classrooms that are within 3 feet or greater are not considered a close contact as long as masks are properly being used. Next slide, please. Okay. So what does it mean? It basically means that when we're identifying close contacts for students, student-to-student contact, less than 3 feet in all situations where both students are masked or whether they're inside the building or outside the building will be implemented. So we are not following the typical 6-foot rule in K-12 buildings, inside and out. It is properly masked. Student to student is 3 feet. Adult to student remains the traditional close contact definition of 6 feet for cumulatively 15 minutes or more over a 24-hour period. Be a moment to look at that on the slide. Okay, next slide, please. It is important to note that this close contact exemption does not apply in the preschool setting, just in our K-12 classrooms. Next slide, please. And again, there are a variety of sources that we use when we implement our prevention strategies and in order to guide our daily operations at our schools, and those are resources for you to utilize. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
That concludes superintendent's time.
Thank you, Dr. McDade. Appreciate that. Moving on next to the annual report of the Ombudsman, 19.01. We have Sarah Espinosa joining us, the Ombudsman, virtually this evening. Ms. Espinosa, please.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef, members of the school board, and Dr. McDade. I appreciate the opportunity to share the Office of the Ombudsman's second annual report. This report is for fiscal year 2021, and so that is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Next slide, please. As the board knows, PWCS is really in the forefront in establishing a pre-K to 12 organizational ombuds office and providing those services for parents, students, community members, and employees. The school board established this resource for these constituents to voluntarily seek confidential assistance in resolving school-related concerns, conflicts, and issues. Per Policy 180, this office operates in accordance with the International Ombuds Association Code of Ethics and core values of confidentiality, impartiality, informality, and independence. Next slide, please. The office has two primary and equally important responsibilities. And the first is to confidentially assist individuals seeking help with any school-related concern by listening, identifying options, helping visitors to analyze those options so that the visitor can make the decision that makes the most sense for them, and where applicable, facilitating informal discussions and resolutions. The second and equally important responsibility that this office has is to collect data and to identify trends and patterns while safeguarding the anonymity of those visitors who are seeking assistance, and then utilize this data to make quarterly and annual reports. Next slide, please. So when a visitor comes to see the ombuds, we listen and categorize the issues that we're hearing and the concerns that we're hearing using the International Ombuds Association's uniform reporting categories. There are 9 reporting categories, and then there are several subcategories that fall under each category. Next slide, please. So in fiscal year 2021, there were 171 unique visitors to the Office of the Ombudsman. Some of these visitors came several times with different issues, but there were 171 unique visitors. The concerns expressed by these visitors, we're going to go through. the categories of concerns expressed, but 88% of the visitors in this fiscal year were division employees. So next slide, please. So of those employee visitors, 64% expressed a concern about the employee-supervisor relationship. Now, when we say evaluative relationships, that's an international ombuds term for this category, but it really has to do with the supervisor-employee relationship. The second most, in 64% of those concerns expressed by employees related to that category is consistent with what we saw in the first annual report, when 61% of the concerns from employees had to do with these types of relationships. And that's not unusual for an organization that sees employees. The second most prevalent concern this past fiscal year had to do with safety, health, in the physical work environment. And there, 37% of the employee visitors were expressing concerns related to that category. And this is entirely driven by the global pandemic. So in the first annual report, you didn't see this category appearing primarily because the physical workplace was closed in March. But this category, this was the second most prevalent category for this past year. And then finally, the third category, which was our second category in the first annual report, had to do with legal, regulatory, financial, and compliance issues. Next slide, please. So in terms of the employee supervisor relationships, here, when we look at the subcategories, the most prevalent subcategory had to do with retaliation or fear of retaliation, and that's defined by the IOA as punitive behaviors for previous actions or comments. The second most prevalent subcategory had to do with respect and treatment, demonstrations of inappropriate regard for people, not listening, rudeness. And the third subcategory had to do with communication, the quality or quantity of communication. Next slide, please. In terms of safety, health, and physical environment, here, the two most prevalent subcategories, the first had to do with safety. So those were questions, concerns about safety and health. And the next had to do with remote or virtual work options, the ability to work from home or other locations because of business, health, or personal need. Next slide, please. The most frequent subcategories of our third most prevalent category had to do with reasonable accommodation in the reasonable accommodation process, and also concerns related to discrimination. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to share with you some division-wide observations and a recommendation. And what you see before you is the recommendation that was made in the first annual report. And I just want to preface this by saying that, as you know, the Ombuds Office has an unusual vantage point from which to view the organization. So by design, these programs are impartial and confidential and serve a small percentage of the employee and constituent populations as visitors. But the issues encountered in Ombuds offices often provide the Ombuds with the ability to make observations and alert the organization to issues in need of further examination. The purpose of offering these observations is to assist the division in removing obstacles that may serve as barriers in achieving the mission of a world-class education for PWCS students and to promote continuous improvement, equity, and transparency. So during this year, and similar to last year, I observed and heard and identified a theme related to workplace climate and culture. Specifically, employee visitors most often shared concerns that included the fear of retaliation. And a theme developed around employee perceptions of how those who raised concerns were subsequently treated by division management. And namely, employees expressed their concerns and perception that if an employee raised a concern, the employee themselves came under scrutiny rather than an authentic attempt to understand and address the concern itself. With that in mind, and in the spirit of continuous improvement and having reflected upon the data of the past 2 years, next slide please. This year, I offer the following recommendation: that the Office of Human Resources, the Office of Equity and Employee Relations, the Office of Accountability, and the Office of Professional Learning work collaboratively to identify and compile data that's available to each of these for each office and school. So for example, turnover information, transfer requests, number of complaints, grievances filed, survey data related to employee engagement, and to do so in order to develop a dashboard or an annual report to inform division leadership of examples of successes where there are practices going on that are leading to workplace climates that we'd like to duplicate or replicate, as well as we'll identify opportunities for growth within schools and offices. I'd like to also just take one moment to say thank you to the board for the opportunity to serve as the founding ombuds, and to assure you that I'll do whatever I can to support the next ombuds once they're identified to continue this important work. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Stevens, can
I have a question. Several questions.
Ms. Jessie.
Hi. I just wanted, for the public record, what concerned me was that last year, 64% in that evaluated relationships, and then this year is at 61, so there has not been a substantial decrease in that. And that's a concern, or should that be a concern?
So in organizations where employees are seen by ombuds offices, often employees may come to discuss that supervisor-employee relationship. What is flagged as even more of a concern, I think, is that the most prevalent issue in this year has to do with retaliation or fear of retaliation for raising issues, and that's a little bit different and could use further scrutiny.
Okay. The other item is that in your last report, you made a recommendation for for an independent study to be done, and you're making another recommendation, a different recommendation this year. I wanted to follow up in this public arena. Was the independent study done, and what were those findings?
So the independent study was not done for a variety of reasons, the primary one being because of the global pandemic and the other issues that were going on within the school division at that time.
I guess my question, do you feel that this recommendation still needs to be done in conjunction and your new recommendation, do you think both or one or the other? That's what I wanted to know. Because as we make this transition to the new superintendent, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were. Because the employees are listening to the school board meeting, and I really want them to know that their voices are being heard.
Certainly, and thank you. When I was looking at the recommendations, the reason that I made the second recommendation is because a lot of that data is already available to the school division. It needs to all be pulled together. But what I would say, and what I don't think should be lost, is that there are, I think that there are very real concerns by employees who have come to see the ombuds related to workplace climate and employee engagement, and that does include employee experiences specific to equity and inclusion, and I don't think that part of the recommendation should be lost. So where we aren't able to gather data or don't have the data available, it may be helpful to look at where there are gaps and then study those areas.
Okay. My final question was that I know you did some outreach and met with various people. Did you meet with the NAACP, or was there a reason why you did not meet with them?
The NAACP was the first group I met with the first year that I was here as ombuds.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you. By the way, you did an excellent job. I love how comprehensive your reports were, and you have such a calming voice. I just feel that employees have been here for a while, and it's great that employees have someone to come to, but I don't want it just to be a place where they come to and vent and then nothing actually happen. I think we talked earlier about the follow-up with the superintendent and Dr. McDade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie.
Ms. Wall and then Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Espinoza. The Office of the Ombuds is fairly new to PWCS, and I think you provide a very valuable service to us, and your data is very helpful. I wanted to thank you. I do actually have a question. Is it to be expected that many more individuals within the school division, employees, et cetera, as opposed to outside individuals, parents, citizens, maybe even students, would utilize the services of an ombuds? Is that pretty normal in your experience or in your profession? If you can speak to that.
Yeah, so I think that the pandemic in part impacted the use of the Ombuds office and our ability to do outreach to the parents and community. And my hope would be that the next Ombuds will continue to do even more outreach, and that the office will be utilized by both employees and by members of the community and parents in higher numbers. And I can tell you just from this first quarter, where I continue to provide limited ombuds services while the new ombuds is recruited, there have been a lot more parents and community members who have reached out to the office.
Thank you. And I just want to say best wishes. We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you a lot, but best wishes to you.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that you mentioned it already, but I think it's worth mentioning again, just so that our staff knows and anyone in the public who is watching, that you will continue to provide service to which we are actually very grateful for until our new ombudsman arrives. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank you for your foundational work in setting up this office. You have truly done an outstanding job, especially during the pandemic. I know from speaking to members of the community and the general public who have visited your office that they were very pleased and very thankful that Prince William County Schools has an office of ombudsman for them to communicate with. But if you just don't mind, for the sake of the listening, let them know that you will still be there and your office is still staffed. I think it's really important because whenever there's a transition, that does make people really nervous as to whether or not they will still be provided with the same level of service. And I know you will, but if you don't mind, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And yes, Rosa Maria Manzinas remains in the office of the Ombudsman, and we set up appointments as quickly as we can when visitors reach out and contact us. So that one of the best ways to get a hold of the office is at ombuds@pwcs.edu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Espinosa, thank you very much, and I'd like to echo the statements from the other board members for our gratitude and for everything you've done, and thank you for helping us set up that office and helping us carry forward with what we need to do. Have a wonderful evening.
Dr. Lateef.
Be safe there in Maryland. Okay, next we'll move on to revisions of policy 132, the regular, special, and closed meetings. So we have a series of sorry. Thank you, Clerk Ms. Simpson. Approval, 19.02, a motion's in order. Ms. Zargarpur.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. I move that the Prince William County School Board confirm their votes in the August 16, 2021 board poll approving the award of a sole source contract for Cengage Learning Incorporated to provide student services with the Gale Resource Library, Cameron's Collection, and Camp Cameron's online social emotional resource library for all students K-12 in the total amount of $460,000.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Jessie seconds the motion. Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Jessie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie votes yes. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
The vote is 6 yes, 1 no, Wilk, 1 abstain. Williams, motion passed.
Okay, moving on to now 1903, my apologies. This is, we have a series of policy revisions, which we typically, coming out of summer and late in the year, we always take a look at the way we do things. And so on 1903, all of these are up for first reading. They've already been posted for citizen comments, and will continue to be posted until we vote on them in the next meeting or so. This policy 132 just states that we'll review the proposed revisions, updating to reflect our current practices during COVID-19 and pandemic, which improve the efficiency of the school board meetings. School board members are encouraged to continue to reach out to staff, division council regarding their concerns regarding any policy and revision changes, and we'll be bringing these up for a vote the next meeting. 1904 is the revisions to policy 134 regarding citizen participation. Prince William County School Board wanted to review the proposed revisions intended to improve our efficiency and safety of board meetings, increase avenues of communications with the public, particularly on agenda items, and incorporate recent legislative changes to provisions of Virginia FOIA as they relate to the confidentiality of the personal contact information of citizens. Again, this has been posted for comment, will continue to be posted, and school board members will continue to receive comment on this. And again, we'll move forward to the next meeting where this will be then voted on. And again, continue to encourage board members to reach out to staff and division council regarding concerns and questions here. Revisions to policy 139, the school board participation in meetings by electronic communication. We continue to make changes to reflect new legislative policy, Virginia FOIA changes, COVID-19 state of emergency. Again, these are mostly legal changes to our current policies to allow these things to happen. And revision of policy 724, student absences. This recommendation, the Prince William County School Board receive information of proposed revision of policy 724, student absences, excuses, tardy summary. The Office of Student Services is proposing a division of 724 regarding this, and encourage school board members, any questions, concerns they have for staff on this one will be to Denise Hebner, to Denise Hebner's office and the superintendent's office regarding concerns here, and then we'll move forward with that. And at this point, there is no further business for the school board this evening, and in light of the weather and the desire for us to relieve staff of their duties and to get home, we will adjourn the meeting for this evening. Have a wonderful evening and have a safe new academic new year. Thank you.